Today's story is Mr. Tickle by Roger Hargreaves. Have you got your book ready? Well, if so, let's begin. It was a warm and sunny morning. In his small house at the other side of the woods, Mr. Tickle was asleep. You didn't know that there was such a thing as tickles, did you? Well, there is. Tickles are small and round, and they have arms that stretch and stretch and stretch. Extraordinary long arms. Mr. Tickle was fast asleep. He was having a dream. It must have been a very funny dream because it made him laugh out loud, and that woke him up. He sat up in bed, stretched his extraordinarily long arms, and yawned an enormous yawn. Mr. Tickle felt hungry. So do you know what he did? He reached out one of his extraordinarily long arms. He opened the bedroom door, reached down the stairs, opened the kitchen door, reached into the kitchen cupboard, opened the biscuit tin, took out a biscuit, brought it back upstairs, in through the bedroom door, and back to Mr. Tickle's bed. As you can see, it is very useful indeed, having arms as long as Mr. Tickle. Mr. Tickle munched his biscuit. He looked out of the window. Today looks very much like a tickling day, he thought to himself. So later that morning, after Mr. Tickle had made his bed, he cooked his breakfast, he sat out through the woods. As he walked along, he kept his eyes wide open, looking for someone to tickle, looking for anybody to tickle. Eventually, Mr. Tickle came to a school. There was nobody about, so, reaching up extraordinary arms to the high window ledge, Mr. Tickle pulled himself up and peered through the open window. Inside, he could see a classroom. There were children sitting at their desks and a teacher writing on the blackboard. Mr. Tickle waited a minute and then reached in through the window. Mr. Tickle's extraordinarily long arms went right up to the teacher, paused, and then he tickled. The teacher jumped into the air and turned around very quickly to see who was there. But there was nobody there. Mr. Tickle grinned a mischievous grin. He waited another minute, and then he tickled the teacher again. This time he went on tickling until the teacher stood up and laughed out loud and saying, stop it, over and over again. All the children were laughing so much as it was so funny. There was a terrible pandemonium. Eventually, Mr. Tickle thought that he had had enough fun. So he gave the teacher one more tickle for luck and then very quietly brought his arms back through the window. Chuckling to himself, he jumped down from the window, leaving the poor teacher to explain what it was at all, which of course he couldn't. Then Mr. Tickle went into town. And what a day Mr. Tickle had! He tickled a policeman on traffic duty at the crossroads in the middle of town. This caused an enormous traffic jam. He tickled a greengrocer just as he piled apples neatly in his shop window. The greengrocer fell over backwards and the apples rolled all over the shop. At the railway station, the guard was about to wave his flag for the train to leave. As he lifted his arm in the air, Mr. Tickle tickled him. And then every time he tried to wave his flag, Mr. Tickle tickled him until the train was 10 minutes late leaving the station and all the passengers were furious. That day, Mr. Tickle tickled everybody. He tickled the doctor, he tickled the butcher, he even tickled old Mr. Stamp, the postman, who dropped all his letters into a puddle. Then Mr. Tickle went home. Sitting in his armchair in his small house at the other side of the wood, he laughed and laughed every time he thought about all the people he had tickled. So, if you are in any way ticklish, be aware of Mr. Tickle and the extraordinary long arms of his. Just think, perhaps he's somewhere about at this very moment while you are reading this book. Perhaps the extraordinarily long arms of his is already creeping up the door into this room. Perhaps it's opening the door now and coming into the room. Perhaps before you know what is happening, you will, well and truly, be tickled. The end.